So yes, I believe a lot of my clients and women on I Heart Love Academy are actually sabotaging their relationships. They're sabotaging it and keeping it from unfolding and happening because there's a couple of characteristics that they're doing that they can't really seem to get on top of. But remember that in order for things to change on the outside of your life, in order for you to have those results you want on the outside, you must change the inside. And we're not talking about like hey, you have to make all these changes for a man. These changes are for you. If you want the relationship, if you want the happy marriage, if you want to really attract and keep that high quality man, these changes begin with you. Now, if you're watching this video in the first place, it's probably because you have discovered you're in your masculine energy in the relationship. And masculine energy, when you're with a man, you actually end up competing with him. And so it drives him away. It causes problems. It causes arguments. Look, it's something I have to work on every single day in my marriage, which is being in my feminine energy and not trying to control the outcome, not being the boss of the relationship, but at the same time having my boundaries, knowing what feels good and right for me, and being able to express that with warmth and not make my guy feel like he's wronged and he's shamed. Anyway, I'm going to go over it in this video, so sit tight. Let's go deeper into this. The first thing is, do you blame someone else when you're not happy? It is one of the easiest human things to do, is that when we're not happy, we look to what is outside of us to make us feel better, but also to blame it and take it out on that person, place, or thing. And again, this work begins within you. And so much of this is about having accountability for your own happiness, your own wellness, and taking care of yourself. Happiness is totally possible, but it begins with you. It begins and ends with you and the thoughts you're thinking and the decisions you're making. So I know this is something big that you need to really take a little while to understand, but all of your feelings begin with a thought. They begin with a thought. It starts off with a circumstance. You're going through something. Your guy doesn't call, or your guy is quiet when he comes home from work, or he doesn't want to cuddle up with you after dinner or something like that. You're not feeling some closeness. So it starts with some circumstance, but that's actually usually neutral. It's not the circumstance that matters. It's the meaning we apply to that circumstance that matters. And so at some point we make a thought, we have a judgment that is good or bad about that circumstance, and then we have a feeling. So the first thing I want you to start to do is just notice, where am I making judgments? Where am I coming up with these feelings and these thoughts? What am I thinking? What am I thinking? Because I don't want you to use feeling statements, which is getting in touch with your feeling body. I don't want you to use that as a way to make the man feel like he's responsible for every negative feeling that you're having, when in fact you are responsible for your feelings. You've got to choose your feelings here. I want you to just begin to examine that. The next one is about disappointment and expectations. It never fails. At least once a week, we receive an email over at help@everheartcoaching.com where someone says, I'm so disappointed. I signed up for the free ebook and it didn't arrive in my inbox. Or I'm so disappointed. My programs failed to load on my tablet or my phone or whatever it is. And disappointment is really a parental term. And it's a mindset that things outside of me are supposed to work without fail, or I feel disappointed. And when you tell someone, I'm disappointed in you, how did it feel if your parents ever said that to you? It feels horrible. You feel like you've got your hands tied behind your back, because how can I correct your disappointment? You can't. You can only come to someone and say, hey, this isn't working, and it would feel so good if it worked. I want you to carry that home. When you get the inclination to say, I feel disappointed about this, I want you to turn it around to, here's what would feel so good to me. It would feel so wonderful to have this way. and make it about you, what you're feeling. Instead of, it would feel so good if you did this and you did that and you made this happen. It feels so good when we get home, if you get home safe, to get a little text and know that everything's okay. It feels really good to me. It feels so good that to get a good night hug and kiss before bed. What do you think? It feels so good to be together and cuddle a little bit after dinner. What do you think? Is that okay with you? How does that feel for you? So you see how you're coming from a place of, instead of, I'm so disappointed you didn't call. I'm so disappointed you didn't let me know. I'm so disappointed. You're able to actually make it about you and how you want to feel. We're taking something negative, we're taking essentially fear, and we're turning it into love. Because behind disappointments, it's always fear. It's always some sort of fear that something's out of our control, someone's not doing us right, something is leaving us, abandoning us, not working, and we are the victim. That's what disappointment is about. Extract that from your vocabulary. Trust me on this one, you'll begin to have a lot better attitude and energy around you. Men really have a difficult time disappointing a woman, knowing that she's having a negative sensation in her body because of them, being shamed, blamed, or guilted. They absolutely break down. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have boundaries and you can't have conversations about things that are really troubling you or bothering you in the relationship, but we're not going to come at it from a parental way, which is disappointments and asking questions like, why did you do that? Why did you say that? Or why didn't you do this? Disappointments, why? Take them out of your vocabulary, especially when you're talking to your man. So often our expectations are really high. I actually had a girl in iHeart Love Academy write in and say that she had previously chatted with a man and told him her top 5 favorite movies, yet when he invited her over to watch a movie, he asked her, what sort of movie would you like to watch? And he didn't remember the movies that she had said, and he was not a high quality man. Those expectations are unbelievable. They're absolutely unbelievable. It's as if men need this superpower to be able to love and meet your expectations. I'll tell you what it really is. It's your saboteur. A lot of my clients have a saboteur on board that is just nitpicking and finding anything wrong they can with a man and saying, you're not high quality enough. If you loved me, you would know this. You would have the answer for this. You would remember. And the truth is that men are not as sharp as we are. They're sharp about a lot of things. They're great at a lot of things. They actually aren't as good at certain things as we are. We have an extra leg on our chromosome. We can do a lot more than they can. However, they are awesome at solving problems. They are fantastic at physical labor. They are really good at protecting and defending. They have this attitude to them that it has a fearlessness to them. You know, men, I always talk about how if somebody rings your doorbell at 3 a.m., we'll call 911. A woman will call 911. A woman will get really scared and not answer the door. A man will get up half asleep in his underwear and answer the door. They don't care. A man will go over to someone's house and use their bathroom and leave the toilet lit up. They don't care. They're in this different world of claiming their territory, marking their territory, and being fearless. We just don't operate from that place. So if you're looking for a man to walk this fine line of perfection and not disappoint you because of your expectations, you're going to fail every time. Men are human just like you are. And we've got to be able to roll with them when they don't get it right so they can roll with us when we don't get it right. Most of the things in the domicile, we get right. Things that happen in and around home, staying on top of dates, making things happen in the house, making sure everyone's fed. We are pros at this. They are pros at a whole nother realm. So you have to understand we're separate, we're different. Look at your expectations, look at your disappointments, and begin to notice, what is this trigger? Where are my triggers where my guy is triggering me? How did guys trigger me in the past? A big one for me was having to repeat myself. I cannot stand to repeat myself to a guy. And men are like hyper forgetful. You can say something to them and they will forget it literally 20 seconds later. They'll forget it. And you want to know why? Because they cannot process two things at once. So if they're pouring you a glass of wine and you tell them something, they're not going to get both done right. They'll give you the glass of wine, but what you just said, they'll forget. So I want you to just begin to understand, men do not work the way the female brain does. Is the female brain superior? In a lot of ways it is. But I don't want to go dig a ditch. I don't want to build a bridge across a highway. I always pass these people on the highway, these hardworking, construction working men on the highway. I'm going, 75 miles an hour, maybe faster. And they're out working by the highway. I don't want to do that. I don't want to answer the doorbell at 3 a.m. I don't want to be the person who is on the other end of the phone with my husband when someone has kind of done us wrong and he has to call and make it better. I don't want to talk to him. He can get things done like I wish I could get things done or corrected. That's for them to do. So when you learn your feminine energy and how you really are in this place of receiving, and boy energy is all about controlling the outcome, controlling the expectation, and having these standards that are just so immaculate for a man. How much he makes, how he's dressed, what his shoes look like, what he smelled like, all these things. I mean, don't get me wrong, you might want a guy that dresses nice. You might want a guy who always has great smelling breath and always remembers to call and always knows to put the toilet seat lid down. Those are wonderful things to desire. But chances are, if you really want a strong masculine energy man, you are not going to get those things until you can kind of retrain him with your feminine energy. And this is where the female brain really does begin to excel past the male brain. So when that happens, you have to ask yourself, if I'm aware, if I do X, he'll do Y, you begin to understand how feminine energy works. You can stop sabotaging your relationships. Instead of believing that you need to succumb to him and do for him and placate him and, somehow say the right words to him, if you understand that you actually don't have to come from that place, but just know what works. Know that positive feelings, positive regard spoken from your body is what works with men. It is what activates them. Accepting them as they are, no judgment, no harsh criticism, no shaming, no blaming. I know it's really tough. Just the other day, I had something happen with my husband where one of my elder cats, I had noticed he had came up to me during yoga, my little cat did, and I noticed he had like something that felt like little scabs on his neck while I was petting him. And so my husband's right at the door, the cat comes to the door, and I go, don't let him out. I need to check his fur. And my husband opens the door and lets the cat out. And this is what men do. And I said, why did you do that? Why did you let the cat out? I just told you. He goes, I'm sorry, I forgot. And I'm like, what did you forget? I just told you. And I went to say one other thing, and Jeff got a little angry. I could tell. And I was like, I'm just going to give this up. It's not worth it. I can go track down my cat anytime and check him. He's clearly okay. It's not worth really hurting my guy over. Are men sensitive? Absolutely. They are so sensitive to feeling inferior, dumb, stupid, not of high value. I mean, men are constantly in competition with each other. So ladies, I want you to take from this video, watch it again, See how often you're putting these things into your relationship. And see if you can't begin to do something different. You can activate your feminine energy, but it begins with yourself. It begins with what is going on the inside of me authentically, and that will begin to affect the outside of you. My last tip I want to leave you with is that I want you to just really begin to visualize how you do want things in your life. Now, how did anybody ever get to the moon? Someone had to write it down on paper. They had to visualize it. They had to somehow plan this out and see it in their mind. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to see your happy marriage, see your happy union, see you and your partner getting along. Everyone's deciding to leaf blow all at once in my neighborhood. But I want you to spend some time there doing what feels good to you. See that happening in your world, and then you can make it happen. It has to start with you first. All right, ladies, I hope this video has been helpful for you. If you want to go deeper, I really recommend you start with my ebook, 500 Ways to Talk to a Man. And I also have a program called Fem Tools for Marriage and Relationships. Check them out, and I look forward to reading your comments below. Much love. Bye-bye.